mother-in-law's nasty, snide comments and how she would have done this or that different. It's always as though she is the good mother and I suck. My husband tries to stand up to her until she challenges him with, "You don't love me." I hate putting him in the middle, but I don't want a war zone in my house either. I also don't want my kids to see their grandmother as their authority and me as, not to be listened to.
Okay. If I'm understanding, this is your mother-in-law. It was mother-in-law, right, Mr. J?
Yeah, mother-in-law.
Okay. And it's happened before. So you expect it. That's good. I have, there's a couple of quotes that I've kind of remembered over the years. And one of them is a George Bush quote. It goes like this: "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you." So I just think that's pretty funny. And the joke is that, okay, you can fool me once because I don't know who you are. But once I find out who you are, if you fool me, it's actually silly, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. There's a lot of wisdom in that. But it's not easy, you see. If you know how your mother-in-law is going to behave, then you have a choice. You can accept the fact that she's going to do it and just clean up the pieces, including all of your feelings of being disrespected and not liking the way she treats your kids. Or it takes courage. It takes courage to say, first of all, I also believe that everybody's responsible for their own family. So I believe that your husband, and you say he's been stepping up, I believe that your husband is responsible for talking to his mother. You are responsible for talking with your mother. And so the message is, we don't, not she. His message to her is, Mom, we love you. We know you want to be with the kids, but we're not happy with certain things that you do, and it causes a lot of discomfort and pain in our family. So here's the deal. If you think that you can A, B, C, and D, then we want you to be here. But if not, then we're going to have a really hard time asking you in the future to join us, and we'll have to figure it out some other way. Right now, we want you to know that your behavior is really hard for us, and we don't want to put up with it anymore. So that's hardball. But, you see, you don't get to blame her for being herself anymore. You don't get to say it's her fault for making you feel this way again and again and again. It's not. If you don't want to like the situation, then change it so that you don't feel badly about yourself. When we stand up for ourselves because we know what we need, it builds self-respect and self-confidence. If it would have been easy, you probably would have done it already. There's some other issues that aren't being addressed in the family, obviously, from that conversation. So that's why I like the George Bush quote. Once you know who your mother-in-law is, you can ask yourself, how do I want to take care of myself? What do I need in order to protect my kids, protect myself, protect my marriage? What is it I need so that I don't have to feel badly about having been victimized? She doesn't have a gun to your head, which is another story. I hope that helps. I don't know if there's any response to what I'm saying. If there was a live by the way, I'd like to send these folks a free book. Anybody that comes in and asks a question or makes a comment or sends something to Mr. J, you give us leave us your email address so we can contact you and put you in our pool and a phone number, and we'd like to give you a free Taming Your Anger workbook, which is the foundation of this program that I teach. So were there any other comments on that, Mr. J?
No, not yet, but I'd like to add something to that. And I mean,
yeah,
once again, I mean, I'm in total agreement with you. I mean, once, and not to get preachy, but, it's appointed for every man to leave his parents and take a wife and cleave to his wife, and that's his family union. And in the fact that husband stepping up, the wife being the wife doesn't want to cause that turmoil in the family, in front of the kids and everything like that. But you do have to stand your ground. Once you're married, once you have taken a mate, you have to stand your ground with both sets of parents, on both sides. This is our house. This is how we do things. And you're not going to come in and talk to, my wife that way. You're not going to, this is how we do it. If you don't like it, my theory on it is don't come around. I mean, if you don't like the way that my wife does things, if you don't like we're happy in our family unit, don't come around. I don't want to hear about it anymore. You've got to stand your ground, because whenever you say I do, that means you've made a lifelong bond to stand up for that person, and you can put no other person before them, ever.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I'm not going to be so universal, because sometimes it's challenging. But for the most part, I agree with you. And clearly, what I want to acknowledge, too, that it's the parent. It's not, I don't see it as the husband's responsibility to talk to the wife's parents. I see it as, you're going to handle your family, I'm going to deal with mine. And I have found that's my recommendation. It makes the communication a lot easier. So these are great questions. These are great questions, and they bring up hot topics.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to have happen here. I want to have it happen here.
I've got another one for you, Doc. And for those two, we do have the email addresses for those two letters, and we will make sure that they get the appropriate information for the show. And thank you so much for writing in, Doc. But I do have another one for you, Doc. We've got a guy.
Okay,
last one. We've got a guy, and he's older now, married, had kids, but his parents separated whenever he was really young. And there's still this kind of anger and this guilt to this day on holidays, and Thanksgiving, Christmas, the family get-together holidays, of who he spends more time with, because the way that his parents make him feel. And what he's saying in here is he doesn't think that they do it intentionally. But, one side of the family he's just not real close to. The other side of the family he spent a lot of time with when he was young, but he really wants to spend time with the family that he's created. His wife, his children, his grandchildren, as opposed to his extended family. But he feels guilty and angry because he doesn't want to seem like a bad family member.
Okay. So the fully once thing comes up again. But you said that he feels guilt and shame, did you say? Guilt and shame?
Shame.
Over
anger.
You said that they make him feel. They make him feel that way. I challenge that. Nobody makes you feel anything. You feel things because you have an emotional brain that responds to circumstances in different ways. I would guess that one of the aspects of the problem is he's trying to avoid them having bad feelings of some kind. Because if he were to decide that he doesn't want to treat himself that way anymore, there's something I call the difference between selfishness with a big S and selfishness with a little s. Selfishness with a big S is really taking care of yourself in a deep way. Taking care of yourself. Giving yourself what you need. Selfish with a little s is, yeah, it's mine, I want this, and you can't get that, and all that other bullshit that people get into. Now, it's as important to honor selfish, to be selfish with a big S, as to be able to deal with the selfish with a little s in a conscious fashion. In this case, what I'm hearing is, your buddy is not taking care of his big S self. His big S self wants to have a voice, and he wants to say to the parents, look, I love you both. I think it's great. I'm having a really hard time. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to sit down with both of you, and we'll figure something out. Because I don't want to have to go through all this bullshit on every holiday. I want to figure something out with you. And then you tell them that you're going to do the best you can, and that you know everybody's going to be disappointed. And that's the risk you have to take in order to take care of your big self, because you really want to spend the time with your primary family. That's really what you want. And part of the guilt and the shame, we could say, is real, because you could feel guilt and shame for taking yourself away from your family, which is what you really want to do. In that case, the guilt and the shame are what are referred to as real emotions, as opposed to imagined emotions, and that's a whole other conversation. So what I would say to you is, get clear on what you need for yourself. Get clear on your priority. Seems to be you really want to spend the time with whoever it is. And then trust that the feelings will be addressed. That you can't help it that some people will be hurt. You're not going to please all the people all the time and all that stuff. Have a conversation and tell them you know that they're going to be disappointed from time to time, maybe half the time, and you're going to do your best, and you'd like them to understand that that's what you're doing. And go from there and see what happens, instead of continuing to put yourself in the same position that causes you to feel shame and guilt about yourself. And again, maybe that's because you're not taking care of yourself. You should be with your family, your primary family. So there you go. I hope that is helpful.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that will help him a lot, Doc.
There's a little dose of Shrink Different.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
All right. Well, this was good. This was fun. I love the questions. Let's give everybody the free book. Come on over. Check out the new program. By the way, you can get trained to do this over the phone and the internet. You can get trained to be certified. I tell people your success is my success. So I guess we're up for next week, and we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah. And thank you so much, Doc, for sharing your wisdom with everyone.
Oh, it's change time. Before we go,
it is change time, yes.
All right, we're going to end the show with change time. Now, the way this was a couple of weeks ago. Well, we'll start it as if we never did it before. Think of something you'd like to change about yourself. Something that you do that you'd rather not do, or something that you don't do that you'd like to do. Maybe you want to learn how to play a cello or something like that. Okay, think of something. Now, think of one small step that you could make or take in the direction of making yourself successful with that change. One small thing. And now, make it smaller. If you say, okay, I want to work out, I'm going to go to the gym for 5 days a week. I'd say, okay, go to the gym twice a week or more. Or if you want to find a new job, you could say, okay, I'll go on 3 interviews. You're not going to go on 3 interviews. But you could say, I'm going to find out if there are any jobs available because I'm going to look at 3 papers. Or you could make 3 phone calls or 2 phone calls. Do it simple. And do yourself a favor, write it down. And next week, if you call in, tell us how you did. I want to know how you did at Change Time. Did you make your change? Because it should be so small that you have no excuse not to do it. Put something down that you are sure you want to do. Because if you don't do it, then you have an opportunity to look at some internal resistances you have to doing something you really want to do. That's when the Shrink Different stuff comes in. Think of something that you can commit to that's so simple that there's no way you can't do it. And it will help you achieve your goal. And if you don't do it, you get to identify the thoughts or feelings that stop you from doing something that you really want to do. And that's change time. Okie doke.
Well, we wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Join us next week on Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Shrink Different with Doc Wolf. Doc, thank you again, and Merry Christmas.
That was great. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you next week.